Good afternoon. This is All India Radio. I am Valsa Williams and with me is Abhishek Mukhopadhyay with the Midday News. The headlines. Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates developmental projects worth over 6,000 crore rupees in Haryana. Home Minister to also preside over a two-day Chintan Shivir of State Home Ministers and Lieutenant Governors at Surajkund. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh participates in 76th Infantry Day celebrations at Budgam in Jammu and Kashmir. United Nations Security Council Counter-Terrorism Committee to hold special meeting in Mumbai tomorrow. Scrutiny of nomination papers underway for Himachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly elections. Portals of Kedarnath and Yamunotri close for winters. And in 2020 Cricket World Cup, match between India and the Netherlands underway at Sydney Cricket Ground. Union Home Minister Amit Shah today inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of 4 projects worth over 6,600 crore rupees at a Jan Utthan rally at Faridabad in Haryana. The projects include foundation stone of Haryana Orbital Rail Corridor project costing around 5,600 crore rupees and the inauguration of the rail coach refurbishment factory at Sonipat worth 590 crore rupees, which spreads over 161 acres of land.
5,618 करोड़ रुपए का हरियाणा ऑर्बिटल कॉरिडोर परियोजना का शिलान्यास हुआ है। इसके अलावा बड़ी जिला सोनेपत में 590 करोड़ का रेल कोच नवीनीकरण का कारखाना का उद्घाटन हुआ है।
The Union Home Minister also inaugurated the elevated railway track built in Rohtak at a cost of around 315 crore rupees and Haryana Police Residence Complex, Bhonsi, worth 105 crore rupees.
315 करोड़ की लागत से रोहतक में सबसे लंबे एलिवेटेड रेलवे ट्रैक का उद्घाटन होगा। मैं आज यहां कहकर जाता हूं, ये एलिवेटेड रेलवे ट्रैक आने वाले दिनों में भारत के शहरी विकास के क्षेत्र में एक सीमा चिन्ह बनने वाला है। सभी बड़े शहरों के लिए जहां लंबाई कम है, फाटक ज्यादा है, इसके लिए ये एलिवेटेड रेलवे ट्रैक एक नजीर बनने वाला है। इसके आधार पर आने वाले दिनों में कई शहरों के अंदर ये काम होने वाला है।
Mr. Shah inaugurated and laid the foundation stone of these projects in the presence of Haryana Chief Minister Manohar Khattar and Minister of Railways Ashwini Vaishnav. The two-day Chintan Shivir of Home Ministers of States is to begin at Surajkund in Haryana today. Union Home and Cooperation Minister Amit Shah will preside over the meeting. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will address the Chintan Shivir via video conference tomorrow. Home Ministers of States and Lieutenant Governors and Administrators of Union Territories will participate in the conference. State Home Secretaries, Directors General of Police and Directors General of Central Armed Police Forces and Central Police Organizations will also attend the Chintan Shivir. Our correspondent reports that various topics will be discussed during 6 sessions in the conference. The Indian Army is celebrating the 76th Infantry Day today. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has greeted and extended warm wishes to the brave infantrymen on the occasion. In a tweet, Mr. Singh said, Indian infantry has been associated with utmost courage and professionalism, and the nation salutes their bravery, sacrifice and service. Chief of Defence Staff General Anil Chauhan laid a wreath and paid tributes at the National War Memorial in New Delhi on the occasion. Army Chief General Manoj Pandey also conveyed his best wishes to all ranks, veterans, Veer Naris and families of the infantry. Talking exclusively to All India Radio, Director General Infantry Lieutenant General A.K. Samantara said the infantry is always combat ready to deal with any situation.
इन्फेंट्री दिवस के अवसर पर मैं सारे इन्फेंट्री परिवार को अपनी हार्दिक बधाई देता हूं। इन्फेंट्री ने हर हालत में अपनी ड्यूटी को निभाया है, जो मेजर सोमनाथ शर्मा परमवीर चक्र के संदेश में भी अंकित है। उन्होंने कहा था, दुश्मन हमसे केवल 50 गज की दूरी पर है, हम हर तरफ से घिर चुके हैं, मैं 1 इंच भी पीछे नहीं हट, आखिरी सैनिक और आखिरी गोली तक लड़ता रहूंगा। भविष्य के खतरों को सामने रखते हुए इन्फेंट्री ने अपने आप को मजबूत किया है और इस काबिल बनाया है कि वो युद्ध के हर स्थल में दुश्मन को भरपूर सामना कर सके।
The Lieutenant General said the infantry is equipping itself with new technologies and capabilities to tackle future challenges.
इन्फेंट्री अलग अलग तरीकों से अपनी घातक क्षमता, गतिशीलता और टारगेट एक्विजिशन, आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस, ड्रोन, रोबोटिक्स जैसे वेपन और इक्विपमेंट को अपनी ट्रेनिंग में शामिल कर रही है। युद्ध के हर मैदान में सबसे आगे रहना इन्फेंट्री का गौरव रहा है। आज भी इन्फेंट्री किसी भी चुनौती का सामना करने के लिए हर समय तैयार है। आज इन्फेंट्री दिवस पर मैं अपने वीर गति को प्राप्त जवानों को याद करता हूं। उनका बलिदान हमें हमेशा प्रेरणा देता रहेगा।
The Infantry Day is celebrated to mark the day when the infantry of the Indian Army, led by 1st Battalion of the Sikh Regiment, made its way into the Srinagar airfield in Jammu and Kashmir in 1947. Meanwhile, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh has arrived in Kashmir to attend the Infantry Day celebrations at Budgam Old Airport. He will participate in the Indian Air Force Golden Jubilee celebrations on establishment of its headquarters at Srinagar. The Defence Minister will also review the security situation on the line of control LOC with Pakistan at 15 Corps headquarters later in the day. The Defence Minister will later proceed to lay on a 2-day visit to Ladakh.
Union Minister of State for Information and Broadcasting and Fisheries, Animal Husbandry and Dairy, Dr. L. Murugan, today visited Kulgam district in South Kashmir as part of the Union Government's ongoing public outreach program for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir. After arriving at Srinagar International Airport, the Union Minister proceeded to Kulgam for a scheduled series of events and assessment of works carried out on developmental projects in Kulgam district. During the outreach program today, Dr. Murugan inaugurated Phase 4 Food Protection Bund at Ariguntu in Kulgam, which is under execution by the Rural Development Department. The estimated cost of this flood protection bund is 1 crore rupees, and the bund will avert flood threat to more than 5 villages in the district. The minister also inaugurated Spring under Amrit Sarovar mission at Chekpora, Kulgam. The MOS later visited Chansa Hatchery and Trout Fish Farm and took stock of the facilities available there. He also inspected the rearing units, machinery and other facilities available at the farm, besides interacting with the fishermen and fish farmers. The minister is scheduled to visit the tourist destination and a famous waterfall at Aharbal later in the day. President Draupadi Murmu will present the silver trumpet and the trumpet banner to the President's bodyguard, PBG, at a ceremony to be held at the forecourt of the Rashtrapati Bhavan today. In the 1.5-hour-long ceremony, the PBG will accept President's silver trumpet and trumpet banner. The presentation parade will be followed by an audio-visual presentation highlighting the history and significance of the silver trumpet and the trumpet banner and the modern-day role of the PBG. Being the President of India's own troops, the PBG has the unique distinction of being the only military unit of the Indian Army privileged to carry the President's silver trumpet and trumpet banner. All India Radio Delhi will broadcast the program live on its FM Gold, Indraprasth and AIR Live News 24/7 channels from 5 p.m. onwards. This broadcast will also be live streamed on Akashvani AIR YouTube channel of All India Radio. President Draupadi Murmu today paid homage to former President of India Dr. K.R. Narayanan on his birth anniversary at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. The President and officials of the Rashtrapati Bhavan offered floral tributes in front of a portrait of Dr. Narayanan.
The special meeting of the United Nations Security Council Counter-Terrorism Committee will begin in Mumbai tomorrow. The meeting will continue in New Delhi the day after. The theme of the meeting will be countering the use of new and emerging technologies for terrorist purposes. The meeting will provide opportunities to discuss existing and evolving threats, the deployment of new and emerging technology to counter those threats, continuing challenges and good practices, as well as a range of related human rights and gender considerations. Briefing media in New Delhi yesterday, Ruchira Kamboj said terrorism remains one of the most serious threats to international peace and security. She said over the past 2 decades, member states have made tangible progress in countering terrorism efforts. She, however, said the terrorist threat persists despite their best efforts. She added that the meeting is mindful of addressing this issue while also recognizing the potential of technologies to increase the effectiveness of counter-terrorism efforts. Ms. Kamboj added that the focus will be specifically on rapid development, growing use by member states, and increasing threat of use for terrorist purposes of 3 significant technologies: Internet, including social media, new payment technologies and fundraising methods, and unmanned aerial systems, including drones. UK Foreign Secretary James Cleverly will be among the foreign ministers to attend the meeting.
India's musical instruments exports have increased to 172 crore rupees during April-September this fiscal, against the 49 crore rupees in the same period of 2013-14. In a tweet, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal said exports of musical instruments have risen to more than 3.5 times. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed happiness over the spike in the country's exports of musical instruments. Sharing the tweet of Mr. Goyal, the Prime Minister said, "This is encouraging." In a tweet, Mr. Modi said, with Indian music gaining popularity worldwide, there is a great opportunity to further grow in this sector. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has expressed happiness over the resumption of the Neral-Matheran toy train in Maharashtra. In a tweet, Mr. Modi said that the resumption of the toy train will make the scenic journey even more memorable. He said it is a great news for local tourism. Earlier in a tweet, the Minister of Railways informed that Neral-Matheran toy train in Maharashtra has resumed its services post-infra upgradation in the section.
The process for scrutiny of nomination papers in all 68 assembly seats of Himachal Pradesh is underway. A total of 561 candidates of various political parties, including independent candidates, have filed their nominations. In all, 775 nomination papers have been filed for 68 constituencies. October the 29th is the last date for withdrawal of nomination. The voting for the 68-seat Himachal Assembly will take place on November the 12th, whereas election results will be declared on December the 8th. Over 55 lakh electorate will exercise their franchise during the state assembly elections.
More than 219 crore 58 lakh vaccine doses have been administered in the country so far under the nationwide COVID-19 vaccination drive. The Union Health and Family Welfare Ministry said over 1,22,000 doses were administered in the last 24 hours. During the same period, 1,112 new COVID cases were reported in the country. The country's active caseload currently stands at 20,821 and it is at 0.05%. The recovery rate is currently at 98.77%. A total of 1,892 people have recovered in the last 24 hours, and with this, the total recoveries touched over 4 crore 40 lakh and 97,000. A total of more than 90 crore COVID tests have been conducted in the country so far. In the last 24 hours, over 1,44,000 tests were conducted.
The festival of Bhai Dooj is being celebrated today. It is known by different names in various parts of the country, like Bhai Phota, Bhau Beej, Bhai Tika, or Yama Dvitiya. On this day, sisters apply tika on their brothers' forehead and pray for their safety and long life. In return, brothers promise to protect and look out for their sisters. The festival is celebrated on the second lunar day of full moon fortnight of the month of Kartik and falls 2 days after Diwali. However, due to a solar eclipse this year, Diwali was celebrated a day ahead and hence Bhai Dooj comes 3 days after Diwali. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has greeted people on the occasion of Bhai Dooj. He said the festival is a symbol of immense affection and unwavering faith between brother and sister.
You are listening to the Midday News on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates developmental projects worth over 6,000 crore rupees in Haryana. Home Minister to also preside over 2-day Chintan Shivir of the State Home Ministers and Lieutenant Governors at Surajkund. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh participates in the 76th Infantry Day celebrations at Badgam in Jammu and Kashmir. United Nations Security Council Counter-Terrorism Committee to hold special meeting in Mumbai tomorrow. Scrutiny of nomination papers underway for Himachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly elections. Portals of Kedarnath and Yamunotri closed for winters. And in 2020 Cricket World Cup, match between India and the Netherlands underway at the Sydney Cricket Ground. For quick news updates around the clock, follow us on the Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
Northeast Diary program broadcast every Thursday and Sunday at 5:30 p.m. brings very interesting and enchanting stories from the 8 Indian states of Northeast India. In this week's Northeast Diary on 27th of October, the highlight is an exclusive interview with Tapan Das, Shift Project Manager, Guwahati Smart City Project.
दिल्ली में AIR FM गोल्ड आ रहा है नए सुर, ताल और लय के साथ। हर घंटे समाचार, नए रोचक कार्यक्रम और समसामयिक विषयों पर चर्चा। 1 नवंबर से एक बार फिर आप, हम और 100.1 मेगाहर्ट्ज पर वही आपका मनपसंद रेडियो चैनल AIR FM गोल्ड खरा सोना।
Welcome back to the Midday News. In Uttarakhand, the portals of Kedarnath and Yamunotri were closed for the winter season today amidst Vedic chanting, rituals and devotional tunes of the army band. A large number of devotees witnessed the closure of the doors. More from our correspondent.
Kedarnath temple opened at 3 a.m. today. The Samadhi Puja process of closing the door started at 4 o'clock. Jyotirlinga was covered with Bhagambar, Bhringraj flower, Bhasma, etc. Along with this, with the call of Vaikunt Bhairavnath, the Sanctum Sanctorum and the main gate were closed in the presence of district administration officials. After the closure of the doors, the Panchmukhi Doli of Lord Kedarnath left for the winter seat to Sri Omkareshwar Temple, Ukhimat. Today, the Panchmukhi Doli will reach the first stop at Rampur. On 28th October, Dev Doli will reach Sri Vishwanath Temple, Guptkashi. And on October 29th, the Doli will reach Sri Omkareshwar Temple, Ukhimat. Meanwhile, in Uttarkashi, the doors of Yamunotri Dham also closed at 12 o'clock for the winter season today. From here, the Bhog idol of Yamuna along with the Doli of Someshwar deity will be brought to Kharsali, where the idol of Yamuna will sit in the temple on the festival of Bhaiya Dooj. With Raghavensh Pandey, Gaurav Patwal, AIR News, Dehradun.
In Tamil Nadu, 7 fishermen from Rameshwaram were arrested by the Sri Lankan Navy early this morning. The fishermen were nabbed on charges of fishing in Sri Lankan waters. They were handed over to officials of the Department of Fisheries in Kankesanturai Port, Sri Lanka.
Over the past 75 years since independence, India's largest public service broadcaster, All India Radio, has been the proverbial storyteller for crores of people across the country. All India Radio is celebrating 75 years of freedom with a series, Azad Bharat Ki Baat, Akashvani Ke Saath. It showcases the journey of India since independence in various walks of life through the storytelling of All India Radio. In today's episode, we'll bring you the story of internationalization of higher education.
Knowledge is a critical pillar of any civilization. Indian civilization has always been knowledge-based and knowledge-driven. Taking this forward, India is implementing National Education Policy NEP 2020, which aims to promote the country as a global study destination. Prime Minister Narendra Modi says that India is on its way to become a global hub for education.
अब बहुत ज्यादा जोर दिया जा रहा है क्वालिटी ऑफ एजुकेशन पर। 21वीं सदी की टेक्नोलॉजी को साथ लेकर 21वीं सदी की जरूरतों को पूरा करने वाली एजुकेशन सिस्टम भी उतनी ही जरूरी है। प्रधानमंत्री ई विद्या कार्यक्रम हो या फिर अटल इनोवेशन मिशन, देश में साइंटिफिक टेम्परामेंट बढ़ाने के लिए अनेक क्षेत्रों में स्कॉलरशिप का विस्तार हो या स्पोर्ट्स की दुनिया से जुड़े टैलेंट को मॉडर्न फैसिलिटीज और आर्थिक मदद, रिसर्च को बढ़ावा देने वाली योजनाएं हो या फिर भारत में वर्ल्ड क्लास 20 इंस्टीट्यूट्स ऑफ एमिनेंस के निर्माण का मिशन, ऑनलाइन एजुकेशन के लिए नए संसाधनों का निर्माण हो या फिर स्मार्ट इंडिया हैकाथॉन जैसे अभियान प्रयास यही है कि भारत की एजुकेशन और आधुनिक बने, मॉडर्न बने, यहाँ के टैलेंट को भरपूर अवसर मिले।
Education Minister Dharmendra Pradhan has called for a new knowledge network by creating synergy between Indian and global institutions. Mr. Pradhan emphasized the need for new knowledge networks with international institutions setting up campuses in India and Indian institutions too going global.
देश में एनईपी लागू होने के बाद दुनिया भर की जो गुणात्मक यूनिवर्सिटीज है उनकी नजर भारत के प्रति बढ़ी है। भारत की विद्यार्थियों को, नौजवानों को इनकी एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी कैसे बढ़े, विश्व स्तर की कौन कौन सी स्किल्स इमर्ज कर रहा है, उसमें से कैसे शिक्षा व्यवस्था बनाया जाए, ये सारा विषय की चर्चा होगी।
In line with the recommendations of National Education Policy, several measures have been initiated to strengthen internationalization of higher education. These measures include facilitating research, teaching collaborations and faculty-student exchange with high-quality foreign higher education institutions, HEIs, and signing of relevant mutually beneficial MOUs with foreign countries. High-performing Indian universities will be encouraged to set up campuses in other countries, and selected universities from among the top 100 universities in the world will be facilitated to operate in India. Focus is on setting up of International Student Office at each HEI for welcoming and supporting students arriving from abroad, counting credits acquired in foreign universities, and adding courses and programs in subjects such as Indology, Indian languages, Ayush system of medicines, yoga and arts. Indian knowledge networks will be for the benefit of humanity.
Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashvani ke saath can be accessed on @AIR News Alerts on Twitter, News on AIR official YouTube channel, News on AIR app, Facebook and Instagram handles. So tune into All India Radio News for Azad Bharat Ki Baat Akashvani ke saath.
Moving on, the 27th Annual UN Meeting on Climate, COP27 Conference of Parties, will take place in Sharm el-Sheikh, Egypt from the 6th to the 18th of November. This will be the 5th time a climate conference is being hosted in Africa. Governments of more than 200 countries have been invited to participate. The region's governments hope the meet will draw attention to the severe impacts of climate change on the continent. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, IPCC, says Africa is one of the most vulnerable regions in the world. COP27 will focus on three main areas: reducing emissions, helping countries to prepare and deal with climate change, and securing technical support and funding for developing countries for climate activities. Some of the issues that were not fully resolved or taken up at the COP26 will also be taken up at this edition of the conference. The issues include providing money to help countries recover from the effects of climate change, establishing a global carbon market to price the effects of emissions into products and services globally, and strengthening the commitments to reduce coal use. There will also be days with specialized themes for focus talks and announcements on issues including gender, agriculture and biodiversity. The United Nations said yesterday that the world's current climate pledges are far off track to limit temperature rises to 1.5 degrees Celsius. The UN said it will steer a world already racked by increasing floods, heat waves and storms towards catastrophic warming. The United Nations Climate Change Organization said that combined commitments from nearly 200 nations put Earth on track to warm around 2.5 degrees Celsius compared to pre-industrial levels by the century's end. The UN's climate experts have said that emissions compared to 2010 levels need to fall 45% by 2030 in order to meet the 2015 Paris Climate Deal's more ambitious 1.5 degrees Celsius goal.
The International Energy Agency, IEA, has said that energy crisis triggered by the Russia-Ukraine conflict could transform the global energy landscape for decades and accelerate the transition to renewable energy. In its latest annual World Energy Outlook reports, the IEA said that the energy crisis was causing profound and long-lasting changes that have the potential to hasten the transition to a more sustainable and secure energy system. The IEA Executive Director Fatih Birol in a statement said that energy markets and policies have changed as a result of Russia-Ukraine conflict, not only for the time being but for decades to come. He said the energy world is shifting dramatically. Mr. Birol said that governments' responses around the world promise to make this a historic and definitive turning point towards a cleaner, more affordable and more secure energy system. According to IEA's forecast, investments into renewable energy will increase by 50% to $2 trillion per year by 2030. The United States Space Agency NASA has said that the depleted area of the ozone layer over the South Pole was slightly smaller than the last year and generally continued the overall shrinking trend of recent years. NASA's Chief Scientist for Earth Sciences, Paul Newman, said the elimination of ozone-depleting substances through the Montreal Protocol is shrinking the hole. The ozone layer, the portion of the stratosphere that protects our planet from the sun's ultraviolet rays, thins to form an ozone hole above the South Pole every September.
In Pakistan, at least 3 persons were killed, including 2 women and an infant, when a roof collapsed in Karachi yesterday. The incident took place in the Ranchor line of Osmanabad area. Local police said the bodies of 2 women and a critically injured young man had been retrieved from the debris. Local media reported that the investigation is underway and teams are still busy looking for survivors in the incident area. A survey of the building was also conducted straight after the fatal accident. Iranian security forces have clashed with protesters who had gathered in Mahsa Amini's hometown to mark 40 days since her death. According to media reports, security forces have shot tear gas and opened fire on people in Zindan Square. Protests swept across Iran after Ms. Amini, 22, died on 16th of September. She was detained 3 days earlier by the morality police in the capital Tehran and fell into a coma after collapsing at a detention center. There were reports that she was beaten up by the police officers, but police denied that she was mistreated and said she suffered a heart attack.
BCCI Secretary Jay Shah today announced that Indian women cricketers will get the same match fee as the male counterparts as the board takes the first step towards tackling discrimination. Mr. Shah, in a series of tweets, said that the Indian Cricket Board is implementing a pay parity policy for its contracted women players. The BCCI women cricketers will be paid the same match fee as the male counterparts. The payment for tests will be 15 lakh rupees, 6 lakh rupees for ODIs and 3 lakh rupees for T20. In the 2020 Cricket World Cup 2022, India set a target of 180 runs for the Netherlands. Skipper Rohit Sharma, Virat Kohli and Surya Kumar Yadav hit half-centuries for India. Earlier, India won the toss and opted to bat. India are in the second position in Group 2 with 2 points with the win over Pakistan, while the Netherlands have played 1 match and are yet to earn a point.
In the French Open badminton tournament, Kidambi Shrikant, Samir Verma and H.S. Pranoy advanced to the men's singles second round last night. Ace Indian shuttler Shrikant beat junior compatriot Lakshya Sen. Verma registered a win over 6th seed Anthony Sinisuka Ginting of Indonesia. H.S. Pranoy beat Darren of Malaysia. Now let us have a look at the weather across the country today. National capital Delhi will have a clear sky. Minimum temperature was 15 degrees. Maximum will be around 33 degrees Celsius. Mumbai is likely to have partly cloudy sky towards evening. Minimum temperature was 21. Maximum will be around 34 degrees. Kolkata will have mainly clear sky. Minimum temperature was 23 degrees. Maximum will be around 33. Chennai is expected to have thunderstorm with rain. Minimum temperature was 23 degrees. Maximum will be around 32 degrees Celsius. Now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Home Minister Amit Shah inaugurates developmental projects worth over 6,000 crore rupees in Haryana. Home Minister to also preside over 2-day Chintan Shivir of State Home Ministers and Lieutenant Governors at Surajkund. Defence Minister Rajnath Singh participates in 76th Infantry Day celebrations at Budgam in Jammu and Kashmir. United Nations Security Council Counter-Terrorism Committee to hold special meeting in Mumbai tomorrow. Scrutiny of nomination papers underway for Himachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly elections. Portals of Kedarnath and Yamunotri close for winters. And in 2020 Cricket World Cup match between India and the Netherlands underway at Sydney Cricket Ground. For details of these stories and more, log on to our website www.newsonair.gov.in and News on AIR app. And with that, we end the midday news.
The waves roar of their achievements, the guardians of our seas, the pride of Indian defense, Indian Navy.
If you wish to wear the white uniform, apply online to join the Indian Navy as Short Service Commission officers in Executive, Electrical Engineering and Education branch. Entries open for both men and women. Last date for application is 6th November 2022. Log on to joinindiannavy.gov.in.
Indian Navy, an ocean of opportunities.